everyone, this is Rohit Manoharan from Networkers Home and welcome back to the Checkpoint Lab training. For this video, we'll be discussing about CLI, Command Line Interface. We'll be covering some major topics in CLI. To start, let's jump into CLI access, right? So if you want to work with CLI, there are a couple of ways in which you can access CLI. In Checkpoint, there are three methods, basically. So the first method goes like you have to connect it through the console. If you are physically available to the firewall, you have to physically connect it through the console. Second one will be connecting it through a client PC and use the service SSH. So you will be getting the CLI access through that. Yeah, and these two are the common way of accessing any device, right? So the other step, which is the third one, is Smart Console and Web UI, which is a new one, irrespective of any other devices. It's a new category, right? So you can access CLI through Smart Console and Web UI, and we will be covering this one. We will not be covering these first two because it's a common way of accessing any CLI, right? So let's look at the third one, and let me clear this out. Yeah. So to access the CLI from a Smart Console, you have to be logged into a Smart Console. As you can see, I have already in my Smart Console. So what you have to do is go for the device. You have to basically right click on a device, which will open up a menu. You have to go for actions, and under action you can click on open shell, and it will prompt you a window in which you have to type your username and password. And if I click on login, it will prompt you a window. If it's the first time you are logging in, if you are doing the connectivity, it will provide you the fingerprint. So you have to click basically on yes. It will open up a SSH prompt, right? So it's SSH of a manager. And so we open this in Smart Console, but we can't do anything until it's closed. So if I click on this left tab or right, else anywhere else than this, I can't operate my Smart Console. If it's closed, I can operate it. So I will close this, right? So I can operate until this moment. So I can operate right now. But if I open the SSH prompt, so I will go for SG1. Yeah, the same thing. You have to go for actions, click on open shell. Yeah, and I will hit on login. Yeah, so I am so you can't actually operate Smart Console if your CLI is opened in Smart Console. So talking about commands, so let's talk about commands in CLI, right? So what I will do is type show and hit tab button. So if I press tab button, there will be a list of commands, which is show commands in a CLI. And if you see at the bottom end, and let me make it full screen. Yeah, and if you see at the bottom end, we have more, which means there are more commands down there. It's basically all the additional commands available after show. Okay, so if you type Q, it will exit it right here. If you press enter, it will basically load one more line. And if you press space bar, it will load one more page of it. So let's see. Yeah, so I will be typing Q, which quits the list. And if I go again and press tab, we have again more list. So I will press enter, which will load one command, right? If I press enter, it will load a couple of more commands. Yeah, the next thing that you can press is spacebar, which will load one page. Yeah, it loaded one page. I pressed it twice. That's why the list is all over. So spacebar basically loads full page. The next command that we are going to learn is show configuration. Show config. So I will type config, and let me click on this so that I can type. Yeah, config. And if I click, if I hit tab button, you can see all the config word coming commands. So config log, config state, and configuration. So I will go for config u and hit tab to auto complete it. And if I hit enter, here you can see the configuration of CPSG1. Yeah, so the same thing implies here also. If you press Q, it will quit at the right moment. If you press enter, it will load one more line. If you press space, it will load one more page. I am hitting space. And as you can see, there are a couple of commands. And if I go here, you can see the interface command right here. It's CPSG2, that's why it's 63.8.0.112 and mask length is 24. So these are the interface commands. If you are making some changes in configuration, you can go for save configuration. So if you're going for save config, it will save the current configuration. If you're going for save configuration, you have to mention a file name where you want to save this configuration. So basically, if you click or hit on save config, it will save the configuration. The next command is very simple, how to exit this CLI, right? So to exit the CLI, you have to basically type exit and hit enter. It will exit the CLI from, right? So the next topic in CLI we'll be seeing is logs in Gaia. So basically, Gaia can be accessed through web UI and CLI, and I will be explaining it to you by a simple normal diagram. Yeah, so I will draw my firewall, and it has two axes. It has web UI and it has a CLI axis. And if you consider there are two users, which will be admin and John, which are with both user having the administrative privileges. Okay, both user having the administrative privileges. Gaia will only allow one and lock the other user out, which means Gaia will only allow one user. If admin is logged into the device using web UI or CLI, it will log the configuration for John. So let's do that so that it's more clear for you. So it's just a diagram so that it can create a picture in your mind. So let's clear this thing. Yeah, and I'm jumping into our Internet Explorer and I will be accessing our firewall 1. Yeah, I will go for firewall 1 and let's do one thing. Let's go for the HTTPS : yeah. So I'll hit enter to load the page. So we have a certificate error. So I will go for details and go on to the web page and type our username and password. Yeah, and hit on login, which open my web UI. So the next thing that I'm going to do is create a user first, right? So let's check the user. To add a user, you have to go to user management. So in the left tab, let's go to user management. Yeah. So under user management, you have to click on users. And as you can see, by default, we have two users, which is admin and monitor. I will add another user and give it an administrative privilege. So I will go on and login name will be JOHN. Password will be same. I will keep it the same. Yeah. Real name is John. I will give it access of web and CLI access, and I will add a admin role. Okay. I will click on add, and he has a admin privilege. So I will not check mark this user must change password at next login. I will leave it like that, and I will click on OK. So as you can see, we have a user of John also with the same privilege as admin. So by default, Gaia will only allow one. So let's check whether if it works or not. I will be clicking our smart console again and jumping into my gateways and server. And let's, I just opened this smart event viewer. Let's close this first. And I'm closing this. Yeah, so I am in my smart console. And as you can see, we are logged in CPSG1. So we'll try to access it from Bob. So I will go for actions, open the shell, and under username, I will change the username to John. And as you can see, we are logged in as John, but we have a configuration log, which is owned by admin. So if you want to override this configuration log, you can simply type log database override, and you can hit tab so that it completes the command. Okay, this will give me the log permit, means give me the log so that I can configure it. Okay, so it will give me the log, access it. So basically, what you want to do next is type following commands to see whether we have a connection or not, we have a log or not. So if you want to check whether we have a log or not, you have to simply type config, and there are two commands. I will go for log. If I hit enter, it will say it is owned by admin, this IP, and facility is using is web. And can I make it large? Let's make it full screen first. Yeah. So expiration to expiration means he has been opened this thing. It means these many seconds, right? So the next thing we will look is how to remove this, right? How to override this log. So we will override this log by typing command log data base override and hit enter. So now I have the log. So how to check it? You have to basically go for the same command, and if you see configuration log by admin, still it's configuration log by admin. So I have logged into this. So let's see, and let's reload this. You can see we have a lock, which means we can't configure it right now. Okay, so I have the current lock, which means I can configure it whatever I want, but my same privilege admin can't configure it. Okay, so same configuration admin can't configure it. I can, John, as having the administrative privilege, I can configure this thing. Okay, so the next thing we'll be discussing about removing a policy from CLI. So to remove a policy, let's close this SSH and create a normal policy, right? So if I'm going for security policy, and let's create a policy, right click it and add new rule under access control. I will name it test. So we'll be trying to remove this policy from our CLI. So I will add source as a management PC, which is this. Yeah. Destination I will add firewall 2, which is CPSG2. CPSG2. Yeah. And I will block the HTTPS. And before that, let's check whether we have this connect. So let's check whether we have a HTTPS connection to our firewall 2 or not. So for that, I will just delete this link. Type HTTPS colon whack 63.0.112 and hit enter. Let's see. Yes, we have the access. And if I go for details and go on to web page, it will load the Gaia login page. Okay, so we will just close it. So we have the access. So we are creating a policy, right? So for that, we will create a policy, and I will block HTTPS for my management PC so that he can't access the website. So HTTPS, I will add it. Yeah. So and the action is dropped, and you can track it also. So let's track that. We'll keep the logs. So I'll click on log. You have to basically install on both the firewall. It's okay. So let's install this policy. So I will click on install policy and click on publish and install. Or you can actually go separate ways. You can publish it and then install it, and let it install. So it's in the standard. You have to go for install and let it install. Yeah, it's successfully installed, and let's try to access the HTTP once more to check whether it works or not, right? So let me clear this link out. HTTPS has the same link 63 dot. Yeah, I just missed the Wi-Fi. 63.8.0.112. We will can't access the website. So the next thing that you have to go do is jump into our smart console, and I will go for the shell. So I will click on gateways and servers and click on CPSG2. Right click it and open the shell. As admin, it's okay. I will click on login, and fingerprint is already saved, so it's okay. I click on login and I'm in the shell. So the command that you have to type is fwstat, which will give me what are the information, what are the policy information going on. And as you can see, in our local host, we have a policy named standard, and you can check it through. Let me close it and show you. We are in a standard policy. If I go for this security policies, and we are standard policy, as you can see here. Yeah. So let's jump into back to the CLI. So I'll go for SG2, go for actions, open shell, click on login, will open the CLI again. So FW stat just to make sure. Yeah, the FW stat. Then the next command that you have to cover is FW unload local, which will unload this local policy. So let's type it FW unload local, which has several features. So I just typed it wrong. Let's see what's the command. Let's see what's the command. So let's recheck the command. What did I type? Yeah, I actually added a space in between. Yeah, if I hit this, it will uninstall the security policy from CPSC2, and it's uninstalling. Let it uninstall. Accessing it again give me a certificate issue again, and I am successfully logged into this. So if I go on to the web page, I have already loaded it, and it's successfully loaded it. So basically, our firewall doesn't have a policy package right now. So what you have to do is go for actions again, and I'll go for open shell. There is a command where you can actually set that use this manager to fetch the configuration. So that command is fw fetch, and then you have to mention the IP. So basically, I just fetch. I will hit tab so that it auto completes. Yeah, fetch, and then you have to type the IP of the manager which you want to use, or you can use the local host command, or you can use the local host command, local host, which will be that device. Okay, so these are the two commands and the services again. So I'm going for cp start. So it's starting all the services. So in that meantime, let's discuss our next lab, which will be a utility which is CP view, and it's a CLI utility. So let's check that. So to see the CLI utility, you go for CP view and hit enter. It will load the real-time status of the traffic and all. So I'm not going for that. So I will show you help minus help, which will give you options what you have to set. So as you can see, there are options, and let me make it full screen. Okay. Yeah, so you can actually give it a time. So I will go for cp view minus c and mention the time. So right now, to check the time of the firewall, you can type show clock. So let's type the time. So I will go under specific time. So you have to type show clock and hit enter. So it's showing the current time, which is August 26th. And for that, I will go for cp view, same command cp view minus t. I'll mention the date, which is August. And I will go for August 25th. August 25th, 2020. And I will go for 12 colon 20 colon 00, and if I hit enter, it opened me a CP view utility, and this utility is basically our traffic management overview, system info, everything. So if you press arrow keys right, so let me take my pen out and click on this. So if you click arrows right, it will go from here to here. It will go here. If you press arrow right side, it will go left and right. So these arrows work right in the direction, which means if you go for left, it will go back to left. Okay, so to as you can see, we have a time bar going out right here. So you can increase this time by clicking plus on your keyboard. So I will click on plus. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me jump back, and I will press plus, which added 1 hour. So if you want to go forward in time, you have to click on plus. If you want to go backward in your time, you have to click minus. And these, so let's do one thing. Let's go for system info, network, software blade, you can check the software blades too. It's a utility manager, just like smart event monitor, but it's a utility manager. Okay, so that's CP view, and there are many commands in CP view. Uh, there are many features in CP view that you just have to explore it. Uh, you can select timestamps, specific timestamp plus minus, and the traffics according to that it will change that thing. So to quit, you have to simply press Q and yeah, it quit successfully and multiple Qs were typed in my keyboard. So okay, so to exit this, I will click on, I will type exit and hit enter. Or let's jump into the next topic, which is expert mode. Expert mode is basically this CP SD1 or any firewall out there, next gen firewalls are completely built on Linux. And if you want Linux terminal to be shown here, what you have to do is type expert, which will open up the Linux terminal. So let's type expert first to see what option we get. We'll type expert and hit enter. And as you can see, expert password has not been set. Expert password has not been defined. To set the password, you have to type set expert password. So let's type that command to set the password of expert mode. So let me jump into my set expert, hit tab, word, sorry, password, right? And let me clear this thing out. Yeah, so expert password, and if you click on enter, it will ask you the new password. So I will go for the same password so that I don't forget it. Admin123, admin123. Yeah. And now if I, our admin password has successfully changed. So now if I type expert, it will ask me the password. I will type admin123. And as you can see, we are in the Linux terminal of our firewall or gateway, whatever you want. So you can do this in manager too. So we are in our Linux terminal, and from this terminal you can use any commands which you usually type in Linux. You can go for ls, you can go for ifconfig. Yeah, there are interfaces, Ethernet 0, Ethernet 1, and Ethernet loopback. You can go for route, which will show you the default route present in this firewall CPSG1. So that's it actually. And CPU also works on this here. CPU also work here. That utility also work here. So it's the same thing. So it's current actually. It's showing the current time. So if I press Q, it will close this. Yeah. So it will close this. So the next topic we will be discussing is manager processes, right? So we have to discuss it about manager process, and I will show you. So there are several number of processes that are in a checkpoint environment, and here's a sample image. And let me take my pen to explain it. So there are in a management server, we have many services that are going on. So as you can see, we have CPM, which is the main service to make the management server work. So this service is used for that. Okay, we have FWM, which handles the communication between admin PC to the smart console. Okay, this FWM service do that thing. We have CPD, which is engineered internal interface services running in CP. So it's actually some internal services running in CP. We have CPCA, which is associated to a certificate authority, which means CP is actually checkpoint CA, checkpoint certificate authority, and CPD basically means the checkpoint daemon. Okay, we have actually APIs too, which is application programmable interface. So let's check the command. So we have application programmable interface, and the service which you can run through is MGMT CLI, through which you can access API. You don't need web UI or smart console. You can use management CLI, which is available in Linux also. Another FWD also, which is used for logging. This is a service which is used for login, right? And we have databases, and this fast database which is running pre-SQL, and we have fast search index, which is the best feature in Checkpoint, which uses the fast search method so that we can get settings as quickly as possible. We can search in logs also. We can search in settings also. We can search a kind of policy, and you can see a search tab when you log in to your gateways and all. If you type anything, it will give you the result which is due to this service going on, right? So let's jump into our shell to check these services, right? So let's jump into shell, and let me close this thing, and let's jump into a manager shell. And I'll go for manager and right click it and go for actions and open up the shell. Click on login. Yeah. So now what you have to type is cpwd, and if you hit tab, it will complete the line cpwd underscore admin. And if you go for list, it will show you the number of processes. And let me make it full screen first. Yeah. So as I discussed, there are processes that are running. Yeah. So there are running, and as you can see, some has monitoring and some don't. And these all are one, which means a manager is running successfully. And if you want to troubleshoot if your manager is not working properly, you can actually check for this command, which is cpwd cp underscore add admin list, so space list. So if you want to turn it off, turn any service off, and let's close FWM, because FWM, which is our connection from our client PC to the manager, which is the administrative PC to the manager. It's the service which handles the connection between them. So to close that, the command is cpwd, and if I will hit tab, which will auto complete the command, and I will go for stop, and you have to go for minus name and type the service, which is minus FWM capital M. Okay, and if you hit enter, let's hit enter, which showed us that we have lost our connectivity from our administrative PC, and it's our admin console, means our smart console is closed, and it's showing to relaunch the activity. And let's relaunch the activity, and let's try to log in again, and it will show you basically unable to connect the server. So why it's showing? Because we have stopped the FWM. And let's connect from our PowerShell first of all. Let's try to connect to the SSH of our manager, and let's try to enable it again. For demonstration, let's type the password again and check one more time. If I hit enter, it will try to connect to the server, but our FWM service is off. That's why it will not connect. Okay, so right now I will do is connect to that PC. To connect, I will go for PowerShell because I don't have putty in this. So I will go for PowerShell. I will write root @ and the IP, which is 192.168.1.120. Hit enter. Yeah, as you can see, our host also can't connect. So basically, you have to take the console and connect it to that. So I will show you the console. Okay, let's jump into a console, and I will open the console, which is this thing. Let's open the console and let the console open. Yeah, so I will type admin, hit enter, go for admin 123. Yeah, so as you can see, configuration is logged by admin. Okay, so what you have to do is type again the same command, and let's check whether the cpwd is off or not. So I will hit tab, which will auto complete the command. I will go for list, and under FWM, as you can see, it's 0. And how should I show you? Let me take my pen out. So as you can see, we have 0 under FWM, which means this service is not running right now. We have to basically start the communication specific service. Yeah, and to start it, you have to basically type cd start, which will start all the services again. Yeah. So as you can see, we are in a smart console, and I tried to log into that, and it actually opened again. So it's showing launching application. We are back in a smart console. So the last topic is changing the interface, changing the port number. So by default, we have let me show you one thing. By default, our HTTPS communication happens for the port number 443. And let me take out my pen also. The communication happens for 443 of HTTPS. And if, consider if something happens, if this is your firewall and this is your PC, and if you have a router in between them, yeah, and this router blocks port 443, how will you communicate to this firewall? So in the checkpoint environment, we have a feature which can say that you can connect to me through this port, through this separate port, and you can actually customize any port which you want. So for this, I will go for 6789. Yeah, and I will right click on it. I will go for actions. I will go open the shell and log in just to see. So I have to type show web so web daemon, and if I hit enter, web daemon is enabled, which means we have the connectivity. It means web UI connectivity. And for checking the SSL port, you have to type show web SSL port. It will show you the port number, which is currently 443. And if you want to set it to the specific port, you have to type set web SSL minus port, and I'm going for 6789. And now this will be the port for our, and it will prompt you, are you sure you want to do this? I will go for yes and hit enter, and it's changed. Now my HTTPS will be 6789. And if I try to connect, let's connect to this. So I have done it for firewall 1, and let's connect the same thing. Let's go again for the same thing. And as you can see, I can't connect it. But if I give the specific port number, which is, let's delete, let's erase the last part and specify the specific port number, which is colon 6789. And if I hit enter, it's waiting for a response. That means it will get the certificate also. Yeah, we got a connection and we can access the HTTP. So last topic in our CLI, which is to show the backup and see the backup. So if you go for open shell and click on login, yeah. So to show the backups, what are already available, you have to type show backups, which will show that the location is this, and here it will keep the backups. And if you are performing a backup, and let's do one thing, let's start a backup so that it saves. So I will go for this one only, and I will log in admin, hit enter, and let's create a backup. And this is the last topic. Okay, so if you scroll down, and as you can see under maintenance, we have system backup. Click on this, it will open up the option, and configuration is locked. So basically, I have to open the configuration. Yeah, I want to override, and you have to basically click backup. This appliance is enough. So if I click on backup, it will start to backup. Okay, backup has successfully finished, and I will click OK. And let's jump back to a smart console to check it. Yeah, and yeah. So if I go for show backups again, as you can see, we have a backup. And if you go for show backup, okay, so backup, okay, sorry, backup, and hit tab, it has status. And if you click hit enter, it will show you the status of a backup. If it was a large backup, it will show you 13% is done, 14% is done, 50% is done. It will show you the status of the percentage of the backup that is going on. So that's it for this video. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.